Good day everyone and welcome back. Today, the Old Man and the Possessive Mask. A thank you to the patrons and channel members who keep this channel going, a quick word from today's sponsor, and we'll get started. The dude who made those incredible SCP cards a while back is now making a new pack called the Eternium. Nothing like your average deck of playing cards, this is a fantasy-themed deck with its own custom lore. The suits even have their own faction titles: the Restless, the Imperium, the Abyssals, and the Bastions. There are 3 packs to choose from. You've got the Dawn pack, the lighter version, the Dusk pack, which is the darker version, and the limited edition Twilight pack, which fuses both together. And of course, these all come with gilded options too. The Twilight pack has got to be my personal favourite, seeing how cool the characters combine, especially that gemstone design on the back. The imagination and the detail and the visuals on these cards is insane. Also on offer for the backers are these incredible collector's coins struck in full metal and copper ore. That premium black coin, however, is limited to only 100 backers, and they are selling fast. If you don't want to miss out on getting these beautiful themed cards, click the link below, have a look at the campaign for yourself, and go and add these incredible decks to your collection now. Excerpt from A Briefing on Potentially Related SCP Objects by Dr. Stanford.
SCP-106 causes corrosion in any material it comes into contact with. The black, mucus-like material generated during such incidents is similar to the highly corrosive and degenerative liquid generated by SCP-035.
SCP-106 stalked the halls of Site-19 with flickering lights to guide his way. He could feel the fear here. The sheer terror of huddled men and women suffused his being. Today he would feast. He turned a corner to see a man with a rifle and body armor staring at him. The man raised the muzzle of the rifle immediately and pulled the trigger. The bullets passed through SCP-106. They stung. Just a bit. But SCP-106 was already bounding down the corridor. No need to sink into the ground or pass through the walls for this one. He relished the look of horror on the man's face as he swiftly closed the distance, pushed the rifle aside, and punched his hand into the man's chest. The man tried to gurgle out some kind of scream, but nothing came. SCP-106 gripped the man's esophagus through the rapidly degenerating chest cavity and then pulled it out. The increasingly ashen man fell to the ground and tried to comprehend what was happening, but SCP-106 just stared down into the man's eyes until he faded into unconsciousness. SCP-106 left the man to sink through the corrosion into his dimension and tossed the blackened, bloody esophagus to the side. SCP-106 moved further down the corridor. A few more steps and he heard it.
Hello? Who's out there?
The voice was timid, pathetic, weak, but also familiar. The thought came across SCP-106's mind like a curse word. The little one was back. SCP-106 passed through the door separating them, and they were face to face. A man in a strange mask stood in the center of a men's bathroom. 2 bodies already lay on the floor around the masked man. A urinal was shattered and leaking water slowly onto the floor.
Oh fuck. It's you.
SCP-106 stared back at him.
So, how do you want to do this?
SCP-035 asked through the cold, chalk-white mask.
You know, little brother.
The syllables stretched out more than SCP-035 was comfortable with.
Don't call me that. I am the court jester now, and my allegiance is to another.
The old man's face contorted into a scowl. A blackened portal opened up beneath the man wearing SCP-035. He didn't resist, and simply let himself sink further and further until there was nothing left of him visible. SCP-106 descended into his pocket universe. Excerpt from A Briefing on Potentially Related SCP Objects by Dr. Stanford.
The fact of the matter is that SCP-035 is spiteful and engages in predatory behavior at least on par with that of SCP-106. If SCP-035 could generate a pocket universe, it would probably behave at least similarly, if not identically, to SCP-106. Neither object is willing to give up a victim once it has it in its grasp, and both objects take what seems like pleasure in the pain and suffering of others. There is some thought that it's possible that SCP-035 is perhaps a larval form of SCP-106, or at least there is some sort of connection. But since we can't trust anything SCP-035 says, It's hard to confirm this suspicion.
The body SCP-035 had taken over was already starting to fail before he'd fallen into this hole. Now he had to contend with the other ones hunting. No matter, he'd been here before. SCP-035 surveyed the space around him. A sickly mix of mud, filth and blood licked his ankles. He stood up and dusted himself off. Oh, fantastic. A trench.
I feel like you have better memories of this place than I do,
SCP-035 said as he tried to climb out of the trench. The barbed wire lining the top of the trench caught his hands and shirt. The sharp metal sliced into his hands and belly, and his grip became more tenuous as he fell back into the trench. SCP-106 was there waiting for him as he sat up in the filth he had just landed in.
We feasted here,
it said. SCP-035 stood up again, wiping the blood down his already torn shirt.
You feasted. I watched. But if you recall, there was a reason we had to leave.
Almost on cue, a massive beast flew overhead. The creature glided through the air on unmoving wings, and a single giant eyeball pointed down at the battlefield. As it passed directly over them, SCP-035's host's body began to hemorrhage more blood. Through his eyes, his mouth, his ears. The wounds on his stomach and hands bled more too, and the blood all flew straight up into the air towards the creature. SCP-035's body began to fail. The loss of blood made him feel faint, and he failed to steady himself before toppling back into the muck. SCP-035 was fading. Fast.
Those things destroyed this place. You made a new one. Why?
SCP-106 leaned in close to SCP-035's face.
We were born of war. So were they. You'll learn one day.
Of course I will.
And then the host's body died. Excerpt from a briefing on potentially related SCP objects by Dr. Stanford.
During the breach on August 18th, there was a brief interaction between SCP-035 and SCP-106. We don't know what was said, but 106 definitely took 035 to its pocket dimension. After it was done, it appeared to have fully consumed the current 035 host. SCP-035 itself was unharmed during the encounter. It just dropped out of one of 106's portals in the cafeteria, where a number of people were taking refuge. I am more convinced than ever there is a strong relation between these two anomalies after this encounter. More research is definitely warranted now that the anomalies are both recontained.
The young brother filled his lungs with ash and dust. His shell-shocked mind failed to comprehend the world around him. Men were falling, drowning in the mud, their bodies twisted and contorted like the wire that snaked across no man's land. A great bellowing roar shook the land, and his scarred face turned skywards to see several colossal avian constructs soar over him. Another man appeared from the fog behind him, a seasoned warrior, the Elder. He scooped up his paralyzed sibling and began hauling him away as the constructs drank their fill. The older brother threw his younger onto the corpses below. He lay there in the death and the filth as his brother's silhouette fell over them all.
You are a coward, little brother. Pain and suffering are our way of life now. One day, you will learn.
The little one cried again. He did not belong here, not with his brother, and not with these creatures. And that concludes this entry. I hope you enjoyed it and be sure to like and subscribe if you did. Big thanks to Sumerian for writing this one with me and for the patrons for requesting this cross encounter. Speaking of which, big thanks to all of them and the channel members for keeping this channel going. And thank you to Dude Punching a Bear, Jimmy, Harrison, Sleepy Labith, Cadet Catboy, Matthias, Deathly Thorium, Luna Wilson, Guardian of Energy, Razman, Splendy the Tear God, Number of the East, Wings of a Meme, and Rick Trexon. Big thanks to the council members, Luna, Tyson, Dr. Nightwraith, D-Tex, Bane, your local Foundation agent, Kicker and Tree, Hunter Killer, Captain Corin Kibara, and huge thanks to the administrators, Aaron, Afro Interactive, Techno Ninja, GFHD, Infinitune, Kamana, Viger, and Andre Bachot. Thank you all for watching, I will see you all soon, and take care.